Have you ever copied a trader's exact strategy, studied it for weeks, thought you finally cracked the code, then went live and got wrecked? Today, I'll show you why that will always happen and what actually works instead. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Shengab. I've been trading for about 5 years now, and for the last year and a half, I've been trading in the futures market. However, I first got introduced to trading through IM Academy. At the time, a crush of mine was doing it, but then I quickly realized it was just another get-rich-quick scheme. But instead of quitting, I decided to take the time to learn the game on my own. I started in Forex, blew multiple accounts, and made every possible mistake. And on top of that, I spent years stuck at the break-even phase. But now I'm focusing on building frameworks, experimenting with systems, and developing a software to help me achieve consistent income from trading. What's my long-term goal? Glad you asked. It's to master my craft, step into long-term investing, and build one of the biggest futures trading journal online. But I got a very long way to go. So follow me if you would like to grow as a trader with me along the way. Now that intro's out the way, let's jump into the video. Now really quickly, before we start, let me just say this. Every single thing that I share on my channel is just my theory. It is not the only way to do it, nor is it the correct way to do it. It is just what's working for me right now. And as I evolve as a trader, so will my takes. But I would like to open up this video with presenting a problem. As traders, we tend to look for holy grail strategies. Especially in this industry, you'll notice traders arguing with other traders about how their strategy is correct and that other person's strategy is wrong or inefficient. What I found helpful to believe is that all strategies are just theories. And realistically speaking, no strategy can be proven to be right, nor can they be proven to be wrong, which truly means there's no way to tell if a strategy is correct or not, so it shouldn't matter. What should really matter is if we're able to make a profit from this set strategy, or more objectively put, if this strategy has positive expected value. So that's going to lead me into this next point. We understand that there's no right or wrong strategy, but something just doesn't add up. You see, if all strategies are just theories, then why do some traders consistently outperform with one strategy while others get absolutely destroyed using the same exact strategy? To best understand this more, let's take a look at the scenario I had mentioned at the start of the video. So we have three traders, trader A, B, and C. So trader A has found a strategy with positive expected value. He's killing it. He's getting payouts, payout 1, payout 2, payout 3, and he's uploading them all on YouTube. So trader B and trader C both see that trader A is getting positive results with his strategy. So they decide to study it, learn it, and try and get the same results. Now let's say trader B gets positive results. He gets payouts. Maybe he gets one payout. Trader C, however, gets negative results. They get no payouts at all. But they both learned the strategy the exact same way. They both spend the time backtesting, the exact same amount of time backtesting, the exact same amount time spent learning, and they learned literally everything the same. However, they are seeing completely different results. So we understand that no strategy can be right or wrong because it can't be falsified, which means it can't be proven. You can't tell for certain if your strategy is the reason why the market moved in a certain direction, nor do you know the exact probabilistic odds that your strategy has. But yet, there's still strategies that tend to outperform other strategies. However, when trader B and C learns the exact same strategy that a trader A used to get 3 payouts, they get completely different results. If they've used the exact same framework, if they spent the exact same time learning the strategy from the exact same person and have the exact same rules, then there's only one thing this can mean. Profitability relies more on the trader's actual decisions than it does on the strategy itself. But there's a catch. For a trader to build the knowledge to know exactly what are the right decisions to make and what aren't, they've first got to build the experience to know what are the optimal actions and what are the suboptimal actions. Basically, what this means is that they have to build up the experience to know what is the right thing to do in each situation and what is the wrong thing to do in each situation, so that their decision quality can increase, thus positively and profitably affecting their strategy. So let's wrap this up. There's no holy grail strategy. strategy. And it doesn't matter what strategy you use to trade, because at the end of the day, what matters more is your ability to discern the optimal actions of your strategy and the suboptimal actions of your strategy. And that is only gained through personal experience with the strategy itself. I know, it sucks. But what if there was a secret formula you can use to better discern what are the optimal actions of your strategy and what aren't mathematically? All right. I'll stop edging you. That's the whole point of this video. There is a lot of KPIs traders look at to determine their level of profitability. But there is 4 important variables that, when combined, literally will change the way you think about your trading style and how you go about building your profitable strategy. But to explain these 4 variables, we're gonna need to take a trip to the whiteboard. All right, so the first variable is win rate. This is calculated basically out of the sample size of how many trades you've taken. What if the percentage did you win? The next is just the opposite. It's your loss rate, basically out of the sample size. How many did you lose in terms of percentages? The thing is, between these two, they're always going to equal 100%. So if you have a 30% win rate, then automatically 30 minus 100 will equal a 70% loss rate. Next is your average win. So how much do you win on average on your winning trades? Last is your average loser. How much do you lose on average on your losing trades? Now, all of this is gathered in a sample amount, in a sample size. Usually anywhere from 30 to 50 trades is good enough to gather close to accurate numbers on your performance. Now, what I just explained to you is this formula right here. I just explained to you the expectancy formula. For some of my intermediate traders, you already know what this is, but most beginner traders don't really know what this is. So expectancy is basically your probability of you winning, which is your win rate, times how much you do win on average, minus the probability of you losing, which is your loss rate, times how much you lose on average. This gives you a dollar amount value, or it should give you a dollar amount value. And that dollar amount of value is your expectancy. So basically it shows you how your past performance has been. Now, a little example I have is this up here. So as you can see, this is a win rate. This is how much they win on average when they do win. This is the loss rate. This is how much on average they lose when they do lose. It gives you an expectancy of negative $8.73. Now, why does this matter? Because it's a really objective way of knowing if you're profitable or not. If you have an expectancy that is less than a number 0, you have negative edge, or you're not profitable. If you have an expectancy that's greater than a number 0, you have a positive edge, or you're profitable. Now, knowing that is cool and all, and if you didn't know that before, you can say you learned something in this video. However, it doesn't really serve us any purpose but to just tell us if we're profitable or not. And that's where the point of this video comes into play. Because I figured out you can use that exact same formula to create a collection of optimal actions that best serve you and boost your expected value, or make you profitable as well, and give you positive expected value. See, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that same expected value formula and you're gonna take a look at the 4 variables that we talked about independently. You're gonna whip out a notebook and you're gonna think of every action that will single-handedly affect that one variable. Positively, of course. Now, here's the thing. There are some actions that you will do that will affect more than just one variable in this formula. So you don't want to get too focused on just optimizing for one variable. However, I found it easier to just start with one variable. But remember, at the end of the day, all you're really tweaking for is a positive sum, or a positive expected value here. Now, unfortunately, this is the part where you're gonna need to get creative as a trader and really do some deep research based on your trading style. However, I will give you an example of an optimal action and a suboptimal action for each variable that I've learned on my own. So let's get started with average loss. So for average loss, the first optimal act that I found was to learn how to cut your losses short. Now, there's 2 ways that I've learned to go about this. The first way is what I call MDC, and the second way I call time-based killing. So to start, the first one is called manual discretionary closing. Before I get into this, I gotta let you know, you have to be extremely disciplined to use this, because you cannot, and this is very, very serious here, you cannot hold on to a loser when the only reason you have for holding on to it is hope that it will come back in your favor. Doing manual discretionary closing wrong will absolutely blow up your accounts and inflate the fuck out of that average loss. Just gotta let you know beforehand. What you'll need is you'll need experience, and a good bit of it trading a certain style. Whatever style you have, you need just a little bit of experience. And you need to kind of identify, do you need to see in order to determine that this trade is higher probability of going against us than in our favor. So that's where that experience comes in, because after taking a lot of trades with a certain style, you'll start to notice, okay, cool, if I see X, Y, and Z, I'm most likely going to get stopped out. That sentence right there is how you'll start using manual discretionary closing. When you see X, Y, and Z, you don't wait to get stopped out, you manually close your trade. Now, I advise only doing this while your trade's in drawdown, because it is a double-edged sword if you start doing it when it's in profit too. But that's just my advice. If you want to try using manual discretionary closing while your trades in take profit, I use a trailing stop majority of the times, but that's just what I use, and this is just my advice. Now, the second is time-based kill, and this is just basically if a trade doesn't move how you want in a certain amount of minutes, you close the trade. I would recommend first, before using this, try and get an idea of what your average trade duration is for both your winners and your losers. I'll give you a little bit of idea when you should be looking to close. Let's say on average, the maximum time that your winning trades go are 5 minutes. Then you know if it's going a little bit longer, right? And let's say your average losing trade duration is 10 minutes, then maybe you should probably start looking to do a time-based kill anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes. But again, just my advice, all theories, not a correct way of doing it. Find your own way. Now let's get into the suboptimal act, and that is by far. Now for the variable that determines average loser, the most suboptimal act is widening your stops. Please, for the love of God, enter your trade knowing where you're supposed to get out. I've done this mistake too many times, and majority of the times when you widen your stop, it's because the only thing that you have left on this trade as a confluence is hope. And I'm telling you, hope will kill and inflate your average loss. So this is what I've found as the most suboptimal act. So next, let's get into your average win. The most optimal action for your average win is to strive for more asymmetrical trades, which basically means just make sure you're winning more than you're losing on your trades. If you're making more on your winners, of course your average win is going to go up, but the optimal actions here is to learn how to let your winners run, whether that includes incorporating some form of parcels or just adding to the trades in general. Now, the biggest struggle for me right now is the average win, because I'm learning how to kind of bump up my win rate, but my average win, of course, is going to take a little bit of a hit. So this is something that I am still brainstorming ways to not only improve, but also make sure it's improving with all my other variables as well too. But then again, don't focus on all that, just focus on the expected value. Some actions you could do is like scaling into your trades, letting your winners run with a trailing stop, moving TP out a little bit further while keeping your stop loss at the exact same area, kind of increasing your R ratio. The most suboptimal act that I've noticed for your average win is closing your trades early when they're in profit. Even if it's a part of your system, constantly check to see how it affects your expectancy. If you notice your expectancy is going downwards or staying flat with this certain action, maybe it might be time to change it. And you can check all the curves of your expectancy with Refinement, my online trading journal. I built a specific page to where it, instead of it having an equity curve, it has an expectancy curve, which also has an average win and loss curve, with also a win percent and loss percent curves as well too. So you can visually see how each action is affecting your expectancy in the form of a trend. Lastly is your win and loss percentage. I'm gonna be honest with you here. This is one that I haven't figured out completely yet. Like any of these, of course they're gonna evolve over time. But what I've noticed is the best thing that you can do is figure out the conditions in which your strategy thrives in and performs the best. You gotta remember that markets regimes change. So there'll be periods where your strategy will be really good, and there will be periods where they'll be really, really bad. If you can easily figure out what conditions a certain strategy or style plays best in and what conditions they don't, this is how you affect these last two variables, by trading it only when the conditions are proven to be profitable for you and avoiding it when the conditions aren't. And this will single-handedly increase your win percent and decrease your loss percent without affecting any other variable in this formula. So an easy example of this, right? is if you're a breakout trader, don't try and trade breakouts when market has shown you constantly that it's wanting to revert to a mean. Now, if that's the optimal action to improve your win rate and decrease your loss rate, then the suboptimal action would to be taking trades that you have no experience in taking. God, I speak to myself when I say this here because I invent so many setups in my head that I have never taken, and I don't know what conditions work best for this setup and what don't. I just take them because I think they're a good idea, like an absolute dumbass. Don't be me. Test your theories with paper money before you put it in your live. What conditions does this play work best in and what they don't work best in? Now, you want to keep track of exactly when you're implementing all of these changes, and then you want to constantly check to see how it's affecting your updated expectancy. Now, of course, one way of doing this is by calculating your expectancy manually after every trade, but the best way to do this is to use refinement, and let me show you how. All right, so as you can see, we got some work to do. Like I said, I'm growing along with you guys as well too. In my platform, when I had kind of thought of this idea, I immediately built a page for it to help me track my expectancy. So as you can see, it'll display the 4 variables right up here at the top, and then it will have an expectancy curve right over here. One tip of advice I give, get at least 30 trades with your certain style first before looking at expectancy data, because as you can see, around trade 30 is where it starts to kind of even out. Before, I'd be like, oh, I'm profitable, no, I'm unprofitable, I'm a little bit of profitable, no, I'm unprofitable. And as you can see, it just kind of like mends out to just show me, okay, I'm not profitable, but I'm not heavily not profitable either. I'm just kind of right in the middle. So I'm slightly negative right now. So this is the expectancy curve. It'll show you all of your expectancy for all of the trades and kind of give you a updating expectancy curve. Now I have the weekly analysis, right? One thing I wanted to build was I wanted to see how my expectancy was improving or not improving week over week, and how each variable was. The next thing, of course, is I have that same curve just with your win rate and your loss rate. Same exact thing. When you get to 30 trades, then you get a really good idea of, okay, how is my actual win rate and lose rate? So right now, let's say it averages anywhere from, my win rate averages anywhere from 38 to 40, and my loss rate averages anywhere from 62 to 60. And then I did the exact same thing with our average win and average loss as well too. And as you can see, it'll kind of average out after 30 trades to show you, okay, on average, you're winning about 150. And then when you do lose, you're losing about $96 to $100. I hope there was just like one piece of thing that you could have taken away from this video. If so, then I know I did my job in kind of sharing my lessons and insights along the way. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did creating it. And if you did, feel free to like. If you have any feedback, feel free to leave a comment and share this video to someone who you think it may help. Also, if you would like to try out refinement, I have a discount code in the description. It's a beta test code, so it gives you the first month for free. The only thing is you gotta give me feedback and tell me what I can improve on the platform, because as I told you in the beginning of this video, one of my goals is to make this the biggest online trading journal for futures traders. So with that being said, until next video, peace.